Alright, faithful viewer, we are back. This is going to be Day 4, Hour 3, Nebulous Live Development Creation Series. I apologize, I did not manage to get right to the next hour as I stipulated I would. I'm going to attempt and do some segments where I really do go 1 hour then 2 hours right in a row to go for a 2-hour run. Development run, of course. And that would be cool for locking down some extra mechanics for this game. So in this event, the player is able to scan, and depending on the frequency of the scan will take a longer time to get to its destination. For instance, like this, it will go twice as quickly. The next step is to change this color depending on the frequency of the wave. And I had just sorted that out in the last video, which was definitely not very flashy on the screen. I wrote down a bunch of numbers on my notepad and figured out how I'm going to change the frequency. And that is where I was right here. And I'm using a switch case. It's not the most fancy of implements, but it winds up working for this, and it provides a way to have many options, but do them pretty quickly whenever the actual event calls. And in this instance, whatever the ceiling of the active scanning frequency is, as long as it isn't 7, so in the event that it is 7, 7 needs to round down. So if 7 is breaking, or I guess maybe 7, I guess 7 goes to 8, that's why there's only 6 ranges. So I think this is going to work. So 1 to 2, and then 7 to 8, basically. Which actually wasn't true for some reason, because I was thinking about it and oh, there are only 6 cases, so. Alright, so let me take another look here at how exactly this is going to work. So I'm going to have to get the material. And I was doing that earlier in the video, or in the last video. Okay, so this is the material of the new active scan. So new active scan dot get component, and we have to get its mesh renderer. And we have to grab that mesh renderer's material, and we've got to say that the material's color is now equal to more or less the result of some color that we devise from inside of this switch case. So I'm wondering if I should, probably I'm just going to come up here and easily to say color, and I'll say new scan color. And the idea is that new scan color is going to be the new color of the scan, and I might have to initialize it, but the idea is we would come in here and in case 2 we would say new scan color equals, and it could say new color and the XYZ. However, it might be a little better to And I'm not sure if this matters, but if we do this appear, oops, sorry, I'm messing this up. If we do this appear, what we can do down here is we still want to, okay, so basically in case 2, we are going to be setting the X and the Y and the Z of each, or for each case. And I suppose all 3 of them are going to equal something. And they're going to equal more or less a value of 0 or 1 float. And this should compile. Oh, color doesn't... Okay, so instead of XYZ, it actually has to be the RGB values. So RG and B are now set to 0. So we can copy this, and we will paste this exact pattern into this, and we will manually set the sequence. So in this instance, this was the color red from 0 to 0.5. And 0. So this was 0.5 divided by a number. 0.5f divided by, and that number was actually this the active scanning frequency, but like trunked, essentially. Or was it just the, so I'm double checking here if it was the raw scanning frequency or the difference. Because the color value just needs to go off of the difference. I'm pretty sure more or less I'm going to have to take the active scanning frequency and do a couple things. So I'll have to say mathf.ceiling, and I'm going to ceiling the player data.active scanning frequency. And this is going to be a float. I'm just going to call it active scanning frequency. And that's not exactly correct because it's actually I want to say something like this, but ceiling to active scanning frequency. I guess that will work fine. Ceiling to active scanning frequency. And we have to take another float, or I guess we don't have to take the float of it. For some reason I'm just getting the inclination to go float. I'll just say active scanning frequency. And then that's player data dot active scanning frequency. And I don't actually know, in the compiler it might not be necessary to do this, so I feel like I might not have to write this, since I'm not even sure if it's going to help or not. So I'm just going to try to avoid doing something like that for now. Okay, and I've got, but I do still need this active scanning frequency ceiling, which will basically go in here. CAS frequency. However, the other part is this part, which is the ceiling minus the active scanning frequency. So we might as well just say ceiling active scanning frequency. It did not autocomplete there. So G equals 0.5 divided by, if I'm not mistaken, the float of ceiling to active scanning frequency. Minus player data's active scanning frequency. And this is essentially going to yield a number that is guaranteed to be between 0 and 1, which is going to divide 0.5 by that value, which is essentially means from the range is going to change the color properly. I don't actually have a great way to explain why. Oh, and I also have to make sure that this division, or I have to make sure that this subtraction happens also. Okay, so now we're looking at case 3, which was also red, and this one was basically this. However, something was a little different, which was 0.5f would be subtracted from this or added to this. And actually, I'm not sure here. Oh, plus 0.5. Okay. So we all end up saying 0.5, not quite 5, not 5. You add 0.5 to the result of whatever this is, which scales it up. It basically just splits the green in half if it's 2 or 3. It just happens to be how it works, apparently. And let me double check that that's 1, 0. I'm pretty sure it is. It says it's 0. Okay, so now we're looking at case 4, which was red, orange, yellow. So yellow to green, so I guess it's gonna be like 1. Looks like it's just 1. Looks like it says 1, 1, 0. Let me just double check that I'm doing this right. Not sure what I wrote there. Oh, I do have written right here, basically. Alright, so I had it right when I said 1 minus frequency. The 1 minus sounds a little bizarre, but it's 1 minus the divisor. Oh. Oh, but does this divisor need the division here? I don't think so. It's 1 minus this, and that's accurate. Okay, so now I've remembered why. So the next one says it's zero, 1, and Blue hasn't increased at all yet, so I'm assuming this is saying I don't have to 1 minus this part. I can just say this part is what this is suggesting. And then this one, 0, 1, and then the 1 minus the frequency. And then the very last one is just the frequency 0, 1. Frequency 0, 1. And the frequency is this. Or the normalized frequency might be a more accurate name for it. And this will, in fact, switch the colors. Even though it's not, like, it might not be the most genius option available to just use a switch case. However, it can expand. I guess it really can't expand too much. If it was an HDR color, it could expand with frequency, and it could expand into a white range. It could expand into an ultraviolet. It could expand into a couple ranges, I suppose. For now, though, it will allow the player 7 frequencies, ranging from 1 to 8. And now we have to see if it actually colors them. But essentially, the new scan color gets set. New scan color isn't calling a new every time this is called, which I think is a good idea, I think. And this is a little better. I'm assuming this takes some thinking. Alright, so that should be fine. Unless I messed up something. Let's see if this works. I do believe I changed the frequency maximum to be 8. Okay. So now if I pick a wave and the frequency is 1 and I scan, it's red. If I go up to 2, it should be orange. 3 should be straight yellow. I don't think it's working. If I dare say so myself. Gee, is there any shot? Any shot? Nope, it's just red. So it might just be that I'm miscoloring it somehow. No, I am instantiating it as new active scan. And I am getting its mesh renderer. Man, the only thing I can think of trying at this point would be shared material. And perhaps, actually, let me see, what does it say as a tooltip there? Shared material of this object. Okay, so I'm going to try shared material. And let's see if a shared material is going to make it color properly. So at level 1, it is red. The mesh is a little janky looking. If it is at 2 frequency, it should be at least orange. And it still looks basically red, and then Is this yellow at all, or? Dang, it's just like it's not working. Shoot. That's weird. So, what if I go like this then? It might be sealinging bad. So I might have to... No, it's returning... So I guess instead what I could do is go like this. I think there was a seal to int thing. And then make this an int. And is this gonna work, or? Alright, it's compiling, so let's take a look. And real quick, I'm going to just jank up the base economy to 10,000 for testing sake. Or 1,000, I guess. Better make it 10,000. Alright, here we go. Running it maximized, hoping for a slightly better thumbnail. So here we go, we got an angle of... Turn on the angle. Okay, so frequency of 1 is red. Frequency of 2 is still red, and then 3 is red. Man, they're all red. So I am not sure what is messing this up, to be honest. Therefore, what I need to do is use the debugger here. And make sure that the switch case is actually working. Enable debugger. Because the frequencies are working, so we've managed to change, or the frequencies have changed the rate of travel of the waves. So we know that we can practically change the color of the waves also. I might have to use that set colors function. Let's see. Alright, so this should catch as soon as I launch a wave out. And it gets to here, and is new scan color anything? No, it's nothing. Okay, so I'm going to have to change the breakpoint to right here and see what gets caught. Then restart this. Yank out this breakpoint. And run another scan. And let's see. So this is a 1. What is this then? 1. Having a little bit of trouble understanding why its ceiling is... So 1 ceilings to 1, sure. So what about anything above 1 then? What about just running 2? Okay, so now it says 3. That's because I barely bumped it above 2. So that basically worked. So now it should jump down to case 3, so let's see if it does or not. If I step into, okay. So red is 1. Uh-oh, it looks kind of angry here. I must have done my math wrong. Okay, so this is set incorrectly. Even so, it's not like the color... Oh, this is... That's kind of weird. It's not like the color is even... It's not like the color is even changing color at all anyway. Alright, so if I step out, or step over, I've got this weird color, and if I restart and jump back into the editor, it's still just a red wave though. Alright, so I'm considering this if it's... There is a rare instance it's case 1, which means it should just be red. And it defaults to red. Well, so we'll have to see how it works. So somehow I was messing up this. I'm really not sure. Okay, so the only other thing that I can consider would be having to use the set color for some reason version or something. So set color. Oh, but that goes on a material though. It's not exactly what I'm looking for. That's more like a... I mean, I'm rather sure. Hold on, let me see. Yeah, it's a shader plugin, basically. It's a shader function. Yeah, so I don't know then why isn't... I'm not sure why it isn't actually working here. More or less, I have to go to the material and change its color to a color that I've created. And it jumped out, so it should... Here, let's just see if it, like, changes the color or not. And I'm gonna have to cycle play mode. So yeah, this is a little weird. All that thinking I did about the switch case, and now it's not even working for some reason. Okay, so this needs to be blue or something. And it's still red. Alright, so what if I... It shouldn't matter even if I jack this up. Okay, so my idea is now that basically what's going on is an active player scan has an emission type, even though the emission is only 0. So essentially I'm changing the color, but I'm not changing the emission. So, and I'm not sure if I can change the emission or not on a material. Let me take a look here. So I don't have the emission like that. Set, it doesn't even have a set emission. Man, okay, so what about under shared material? So okay, the math is wrong under that other one, but let me try this. So the material's color needs to equal the new color. But I'm going to have to turn off the emission value on, but that means that okay, so it's not going to work. And I understand why it's not going to work. It's not going to work because it's not going to have any light hitting it to give it brightness, since it's a lit shader. Which leaves me at one choice I can consider, and that is to make if I get it to work here, shader graph color property, and we'll call this active scan color. And essentially, whatever we're giving the active scan color needs to be our emission. As long as I can, well, it doesn't, it's only emitting red. What if I just, no, it's not gonna work. It needs to emit. Okay, let me try. I'm going to try turning off this. I don't actually have the capacity to do that. Okay, I was gonna try turning off the emission, more or less. But for now, I'm just going to plug in the color. And it is the color 4 here. But now I have to set active scan color, more or less. On the shader, which I was trying to avoid that. So the material, and then you have to say .set color. And you're setting it to a string name of the property, which is active scan color, or was it active scanning color? Active scan color. So active scan color, and the color we're giving it is new scan color. And this should in fact fix our color, except for in this event where I had the math wrong somehow. Let me double check. It needed to go from 0 to 0.5, from case 2 to 3. And I wrote that down as being I just wrote that down as being the angle or whatever. Yeah, 2 minus frequency. And then you're dividing it by, you're 0.5 divided by that. I understand why that scales it up by 0.5. Okay, so the next case is anything from 2 point on. And so you'll have 3. One ceiling does 2, so it's... I feel like the math is correct. Let me test the other thing first, and then if I need to, I can debug a little more thoroughly. I might have to switch them all back to being floats. It might be trunking something funky with the integer. So now I'm going to save this, and we're going to see if the color changes now. In this instance, let's see, make sure that it's red. Okay, so that was turned to black. It must have turned to black because it was 1. Let's see if that's true. So barely above 1, it's still black. What if it's way higher? Yeah, so now it's turning black, and part of that's because we're breaking its, somehow we're breaking its emission. Oh, do I have to like this? That might be true. Let's see if that worked. It might still start black, but we'll see. I think the default... Oh no, I changed the default emission. So let's take a look. So default emission, we've got black still, but if I go just a little bit, it's like orange. And then if I go up to like 2, it should be technically orange all the way. But just above 2, well, let's see what happens. So that's a yellow. It's a little weird. That's pretty yellow. That's more orange. That's really strange. And that's just straight black. I'm understanding why that is now. But we've got a green wave, a blue wave, still blue. And it's back to black. Man, I messed up something. Oh, you know what? I don't have... Oh, hold on. This should be orange and it's yellow. And it's properly getting a little green here. It's like even emitting green. Whoa. Okay, that's not supposed to be happening. What the heck? It's overexposing green is what happened. So the math is, for some reason the math's a little off, and I guess it might be courteous enough to do case 1. And it's just going to be this. I guess we can just say new scan color. Can I go like this? Oops, that was weird. Uh-oh. Yeah, I don't know how I did that. Not cool. Okay. Does give me a little bit more screen though, I suppose. Okay, where was I? I was just going to grab these and say new scan color equals something. In this instance, we are just going to have it dialed into red. But then after that, it's like still having a few issues with the math. It's also happening too quickly because, like, it was cool seeing the green emission wave, though. That could actually, like, add some oomph to the waves or something like that. I'm not sure what's going on. I'm going to have to, probably have to debug it again. So I'm going to jump in here since this is the one, or I suppose I could just jump in here. And I'm just going to see how far the integer is accurate from the ceiling value. Man, I'm actually surprised this is tricky like this. There's probably a way I can just use the shader graph now to do this part, to be honest. So now it's properly red, and if it goes up to this color, it's already yellow, which is, it shouldn't be. It should only be orange, not yellow. So now for this color, it should actually trigger the... Oh, it actually did not. Ceiling, 2 ceiling is under 1. So like this. Okay, weird. Alright, so this is 2. This is 2, and this is 1. Oh no, it's not. It's oh no, it's 0.75, but that means that it then subtracts to 0.25. So you have 0.25. 0.5 divided by 0.25 increases G to 2. And that's incorrect. It shouldn't be 2. It should be... So do I multiply this? Because this winds up being the number 0.25, so 0.5 times is 0.25. Would that actually get the number I'm looking for? I'll just give it a shot here. It's cool I can emit like that. That might yield something cool. So I'm looking at like just multiplying instead. Scaling it incorrectly by the value. This still makes sense. This still makes sense. Okay, these still make sense. Because they're just in the range of 0 to 1 without any extra complications. So let's take a look at what these changes have done. And here's something that they yield the proper color ranges. I can see why the colors are messed up though if there's extra saturation, I suppose. That's how that works. The other thing is this has an alpha, it has an alpha value or whatever, so I might be able to make the waves look more realistic through alpha stuff. We'll have to see. Okay, so 1 it should be red. A little above 1 it should be getting orange. And it's pretty orange. And just under 2 should be close to orange, but it's red again. It's kind of weird. That is weird. I've got to have my math screwed up. So that's with multiplying it. maybe case 1 needs, no, case 1 is, it should be getting oranger, but like it's, I don't know if it should be that orange. And that's back to red, which is weird. And then case 2 is up to yellow. It's just, it's yellow too fast. Unless I'm mixing my colors wrong or something. And it's even going back down to orange, so it's almost like I've got it backwards. And then green is here. So it should be turning blue soon. But it's actually like, looks like it's turning more yellow almost. And it just jumps to blue, so it's almost like I've got them a little backwards here or there. And it was broken at that point. I guess it's backwards because there's blue. And there's like indigo. Oh, there's like violet. Yeah, I've got that. Somehow I get this really screwed up. So this is a force set to 0.5 and above. I guess I might as well just debug it, since I'm not quite sure. Man, this is really taking a bit. It was actually not, I was not anticipating it to become this complicated, I have to admit. Alright, so we've got 1.96, which sounds accurate. Okay, so the whole point here is that the upper half of this range to 1 is actually what creates the color yellow. However, I feel like this number is backwards. I feel like right at the beginning of the zone, the value should be like 0.54. Which means I need to get 0.04 out of 0.5 times that value. Which means this minus this yields 0.08 or 0.92. And 0.92 times 0.5 is like essentially 0.46. So for some reason here I do want to divide it, because I want it to go the other way. I need it to be the small number plus 0.5. So 0.5 divided by I was under the impression dividing by a big number makes it smaller and dividing by a small number makes it bigger. However, in this instance, because it's a difference, yeah, I'm not sure how I screwed this up so much, but I know that 3 minus this is 0.92, and we're trying to scale 0.5 by, this is 0.54 some odd. Oh no, whoops, I changed it here. Now it's 0.46. Both are incorrect. It's almost like I have to say 1 minus this. Once again, this should be like, shouldn't be adding like that. So 3 minus 2, 0.08, 0.92, minus 1 should be 0.8, 0.08, which it is. And then 0.08 times 0.5 is 0.04. Plus 0.5 should be 0.54. That's what should be right here. So it might be the same thing in this instance then. But I need this part. Right here as well. Let me see if this saves my work I do. Okay. And I might have done these backwards. So this might be 1 minus, this might be 1 minus. Let's see if these first couple are fixed though. Man, I'm running out of time on this video. Shoot, I needed to get this done. I was not anticipating it to block up like this. Let's see here. So this should be red. This should be orange. Okay, and this should still be orange, but a little more orange, arguably. And then this should be almost yellow, and this should be yellow, but it's green, hard green. So I'm so confused as to how I screwed this up. Not sure, but that worked. So we might be able to just go like this here, since it needs to be backwards. And here it's backwards, so it's... So we're basically swapping these two. And these are a little jinky also, so we'll swap them as well. And hope that this yields to some sense for the player. Because case 7 means you need to be able to go up to 8. That's the only way to get a trunk up there, is to get to case 8, so... I shouldn't be able to get to that back... Oh wait, hold on, actually let me double check the UI builder. And see, let me see if the slider is... Oh, its high value is still 10. That's why it's being weird. I changed the initialization, but I guess I didn't change the hard value. So now I shouldn't be able to overscan on the slider. Alright, so red, a little bit orange, and pretty orange, a little bit yellow, pretty yellow, a little yellow to green, and then mostly green, almost blue, still a little blue, and then here's get into indigo, and then now we're creeping up on the violet. And it's still going one too far. And I understand why that is. I'm not sure why I'm doing my math wrong. There are only 6 frequency ranges, even though there's 7 frequencies. So I only have to account for arguably 6 of them. So I only have to get to range 6 to cause case 7. Therefore, the maximum... Oh, and then there's a case 7 max scan power. So I guess what we can do is, before I end this video, we will set the active scan sliders max value to 7. And this will essentially mean that the max scan needs to change to the color white, which we can do possibly real quick here. And say case 8, which is the number 7. and change it all to 1. And see if I can... Oh, I only got a couple seconds to test this out. So see how hard the compiler hangs. Uh-oh. Running out of time, running out of time. Alright. I might go over a minute or two in this particular video, but let's see if I can wrap it up here with all the colors being correct for the most part. Alright, so red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. Oh, and this is okay. I see why I screwed up. So this basically was correct. All right, well, I need to work out one more bug, but for the most part, that system has actually now come together, and I'm not sure what I think of it. I need to work with the colors just a smidgen, but I'll have to think about it. So I'm going to cut this video and start uploading, and then I will start the next one. Alright, I'll see you in the next one.